Field by field, Maizex is bringing Canadian seed to farmers across Canada. Maizex is your source for high-performance soybeans and grain, silage, and grazing corn hybrids. Visit maizex.com to find your local Maizex representative.
Well, we've been spending some time today talking about the potential rail strike that looks to be more and more of a higher probability here in Canada, which is an unprecedented event where we could potentially have both Canadian railways striking at the same time. This is an issue that's obviously going to impact agriculture. There's no doubt about that. That's pretty kind of a foregone conclusion, but it really impacts all of Canada. Here to talk more about it here is Greg Northey. He is Vice President of Corporate Affairs with Pulse Canada. Hey, Greg, great to chat with you again.
Hi, Sean. Good to see you.
Okay, give me some perspective. The gravity of the situation that is in front of Canada right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, from our perspective, it's hard to imagine a potential labor disruption that would be more impactful on the economy. Both railways going down, there's no corollary. It's hard. You have one railway going down, obviously impactful. An airline going down, impactful, but both railways shutting down and basically stopping the Canadian economy. And this is something that I don't think we can understate the gravity of the situation for that.
From your perspective, cut to the chase. What needs to happen here? What are we heard earlier on Real Ag Radio today from Kyle Larkin of the Grain Growers of Canada talking about how he described three options. From your perspective of Pulse Canada, your experience, you've spent a lot of time in the transport sector, Greg. What do you see as the path here for a resolution?
Yeah, well, look, we focus on labor issues a lot, and a lot of it is in the realm of more long-term elements and how to prevent issues from happening, whether it's essential service or, really speaking about the importance of back to work legislation in the event of a strike, sort of these more hypothetical long-term elements. This situation is very different. We know both railways have said they will lock out their employees on August 22nd, so less than 10 days. And so we have a very limited runway to prevent that. And so now it's about what we can do to do that, what we can do to prevent that, and what the focus should be. And so, in our view, that the one pathway we have ahead of us here is for the minister to use the powers he has within the labor code in Section 107 and actually refer what's happening in negotiations to the Canadian Industrial Relations Board. Obviously, we've just been through a process like that. That was a bit different. That was around whether there should be essential services within the rail that should be protected in the event of a strike. But at this point, we know there's going to be a lockout, and what we've been seeing is we're not fully sure that negotiations are happening in good faith. And so the possibility of a negotiated agreement is really unclear. It doesn't seem to be on the table. And so the minister at this point, with the powers that he has, needs to address that and use his powers to assess whether those negotiations are actually functioning right now.
And so is the solution there binding arbitration then?
Absolutely, it could be. They look at it, and that's absolutely on the table. The minister could refer to the Industrial Relations Board, assess whether things are happening in good faith, and they could impose an agreement. They could ask for binding arbitration on an agreement. They have a series of different remedies they could potentially do. Our focus right now, for sure, would be, the quickest, cleanest way could be binding arbitration because it allows the two parties to still, table their best deal and have a third party assess it. But binding arbitration, it has to be on the table for that and as a solution when they look at it.
In order for that solution to happen, can the minister demand that that's the solution? Do both parties, both sides have to voluntarily agree to binding arbitration, or what happens here?
Yeah, generally, I mean, and this is where we start to get into gray areas, but I mean, our feeling is that this is the unprecedented situation means that, all options have to be on the table. Is the two parties have to agree to binding arbitration. As we saw in the recent WestJet case, because that was a first collective bargaining agreement, there is the ability to actually impose binding arbitration. This case is different with CN and CPN and the unions, but the reality is it's never been tested in this way. And so there certainly are the chances of it, or the testing of the ability for the minister to actually explicitly say, we need to look at binding arbitration because this is not happening. The two parties are not coming together in the way that would represent an opportunity to actually have a negotiated agreement is not there. We want to see binding arbitration. I think you'd absolutely start to see an assessment of that against law, against case law, but I think the situation we have now is such that all these things have to be on the table. We have to look at this very seriously.
What are you hearing from members? What individual farmers that are growing pulses? There's got to be a lot of concern here based on, as you've mentioned, how far the two parties are apart, especially with combines, rolling through the field. We're at a very inopportune time here for. I don't think there's ever a good time for this, but we're really at a bad time for agriculture.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've got peas being harvested now. Generally, those go straight off the combine and for export. Um, And what we've been seeing actually in the Ag Transport Coalition numbers is that there has been a big, as far as demand, as far as trying to get orders on the books for the railways has been higher than usual for this time of year. So,
Yeah.
the system has been gearing up for it. And August 22nd, like I said, less than 10 days, the whole system could be shut down. And it's not, yeah, it's deeply concerning. We've never seen something like this. It's going to be hugely impactful.
Is there work happening behind the scenes? Like, this is bigger than an ag issue. Okay. A lot of
Yeah.
times, Aggies, we stay in our little bubble and hey, this is an ag issue. And once in a while, it branches out to another industry. This one branches out to all of them.
Yeah, everybody.
Is
Yeah.
there work behind the scenes happening cross industry in terms of how to collaborate in terms of moving this needle because we only have 10 days?
Absolutely. So, I mean, there's been a flurry of letters. Generally, labor issues like this result in a lot of letters going in, and so there's been collaborative letters across industries, across agriculture and everyone else. I've been sitting in meetings with departmental staff, with ministerial staff, with a broader coalition, really expressing how big of a concern this is. And I would say it's not that no one is understanding how big of a concern is it. It's just that like we're seeing with the railway and the unions, everyone's just sort of taking what we think is quite a relaxed view of this right now. And our point right now is that we can't be relaxed about it. And just from an agriculture perspective, we've started a campaign at stopthestrike.ca where we're basically trying to we have a letter writing campaign. We're trying to encourage farmers, exporters. This is specifically for the ag industry to write in and ask for action, this very specific action for the minister to take using his powers in 107. And so that's what we're doing in the ag industry. We're going to be spooling that up, trying to get other industries involved. But, from an agricultural perspective, we can speak with a really loud voice. Farmers should be very, very vocal about this right now. This is, like I said, massively consequential.
Yeah,
It's hard to be too hyperbolic about it, but it's
but
it's
yeah,
a
yeah,
it's a big
no,
deal.
I understand. But to be fair, we got 10 days. What good are letters? Like, doesn't the minister already have the awareness that this is a fundamentally catastrophic economic situation?
You would hope so, but I think the minister has faith, and we're not sure it's founded, that the two parties are bargaining in good faith, that they will actually, what they can do together, or the three parties, will actually result in a negotiated agreement. And um, what it takes, quite honestly, for the minister to act in something like this, to actually pull the trigger on a section 107 is voices, is industries letting him know that at this point it's not he can't put the trust in the two parties. He has to act. He has to intervene in this way. And so, you know, the power of a letter writing campaign in that sense, especially when it comes from farmers, can be quite significant.
I've had numerous audience members point out to me the the fact that, speaking of parties, political parties, everybody, well, the liberals and the conservatives are trying to cater to the union vote right now, as we're just over a year away from potentially an election, or it could be sooner. Is that having an effect here? Like the union would know that. The railway knows that. Is that creating a bit of a thorn in the side of this coming to a resolution?
Well, I think in some ways you can probably trace the lockouts or the focus on the lockouts from the railways to that. I mean, the reality is the unions are very, this is the thing with everybody involved in this. The unions are very aware of the economic lever that they hold,
Oh
right,
yeah.
with a strike and the sort of pressure that puts in a negotiating situation. The railways clearly recognize that. They also recognize the power of a lockout and the impact on that and the leverage that's going to put on the unions. And obviously, the minister by now definitely understands the impact of this. And so, I think all sides are using their leverage that they see fit. And the reality is, the ability to bargain, to form a union, and to leverage that power within negotiations is an enshrined right in Canada, and it really isn't about that. No one's disputing that. But the reality is that when you don't see evidence of good faith bargaining happening, and obviously we're not at the bargaining table, but just from what we see in the statements and the fact that this has been going on for so long, and we're just seeing this game of chicken happening, um, it's becoming bigger than just that. It's becoming something that, how do you respect the abilities for two parties to come to a negotiated agreement that they're satisfied with, without bringing such a sort of a catastrophic situation to the Canadian economy. And there's tools to do that, and and this is where we're focused right now.
Yeah. Greg, thanks a lot for joining us here today on Real Ag Radio. Appreciate it. Like you said, we have 10 days. The countdown is on, so to speak. So everybody go to stopthestrike.ca. Greg, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.